Every incident that has occurred has to do with, the sprinkling system failed or water came in the ventilation. This is not our first fire, guys. This is our fourth fire. And they've all had to do with the infiltration of moisture. We live in a marine layer, not just a marine layer of moisture, but salt water specifically, which is highly conductive in batteries. This is not, new. This is elementary physics. This is what we learned in elementary school.
Hey, it's Jordan. I am in Flint, Michigan, East Palestine, Ohio, Tumwa, Iowa. Please support the only independent outlet on the ground covering what the corporate media covers up.
My name is Liza. I'm a liveaboard in Moss Landing as well. I also have a history working for marine research as a deckhand on research vessels, and I've also been commercial fishing this bay for 8 years and serve as a coastal tour guide via horseback in Moss Landing. One of the things I do want to echo that Bruce said is, and don't take this personally, but I want you guys to have a bigger picture because I really stand for Take Back California. I have really very real concerns about why an MSDS sheet wasn't available to the fire department, to our county representatives, to Jimmy Panetta, who accepted money from Vistra while they installed this facility and allowed that permitting. An MSDS is a material safety data sheet that specifically says, and I know because I work in marine, I've been working with the marine environment for 15 years. And whenever you work with a chemical, you get a report that says, this is what that chemical is, these are the risks that you're taking, these are ways to handle it if you have a physical or debilitating larger emergency, this is how to put out a fire if you're dealing with this chemical. And as a handler, especially in the state of California, anything that's shipped into California, and by the way, some things are not allowed to be shipped into California, only qualified personnel will be able to discern what that MSDS sheet means in order to be able to use those batteries. So there's some gross negligence here in that permitting, especially since it is on an estuary in a marine sanctuary in a protected area. This should have never happened. I don't think there is a safe way to address the situation. Every incident that has occurred has to do with, the sprinkling system failed or water came in the ventilation. This is not our first fire, guys. This is our fourth fire. And they've all had to do with the infiltration of moisture. We live in a marine layer, not just a marine layer of moisture, but salt water specifically, which is highly conductive in batteries. This is not, new. This is elementary physics. This is what we learned in elementary school. This is no excuse as to why we don't have a plan to deal with this. The additional long-term impacts cannot be measured. Not today, not tomorrow, not months from now. I'm carrying a 5-month-old baby. What about 6 years from now? What about 10 years from now? We can't say, well, everything is safe now, like our organic farmer said. I was here when the smokestacks were operational while it was a gas-powered plant, and we could see the rust particulate landing on all of the boats. And they offered the boat owners opportunities to compensate for cleaning those boats. But the reality was you could go to the boats any day when those smokestacks were operational and see physically rust particulate all over the place. And that's what we can see. Now we're talking about that is visible to all of us boat owners, but what about what we can't see? And at the same time, we're going to be held accountable if we clean our boats improperly, but they're not going to be held accountable for the amount of particulate and heavy metals that have poisoned our soil, potentially poisoned our fisheries 2 years from now, 5 years from now. We don't know. That's very horrendous. I want to ask California and Monterey County as a leader, and because we have agriculture and because we are a fishing mecca, to say yes, we are going to protect our coasts. We are going to protect our coast by 2030, and how we're going to do that is we are not going to say yes to this so-called green energy. I know I don't have a lot of time here, but I do want to point out that as of 2020, Vistra was ranked the highest CO2 emitter in the United States. Okay, guys? This is not green energy. This is not saving our environment. This is not reducing carbon emissions. This is shaking hands between politicians and giant organizations saying that we have a futuristic energy that we don't know how to contain, we don't know how to control, we don't know how to store safely, and we want to put wind farms up and down the coast and a Moss Landing Vistra power plant storing batteries in Morro Bay, in San Jose, in Watsonville. We need to set an example here. We need to set an example here that we, as a community, as a critical hub, as an environmental and scientific hub, are going to say, no, this doesn't work, it's not safe, we don't know what the long-term impacts are, and we can't permit this to move forward.
When you said that once the permit process is done and they've begun construction, does the further regulation fall to the company to because they're the experts. They're the ones. I mean, they presented the fire department with what their response was expected to be, and such. And it seems like, you know, self-regulating industries usually don't fare very well.
Yeah, and I think that's to a great degree where we're at a lot with this, because it's a relatively new industry, so it is doing a lot of self-regulation. It's presenting information to the state, to the federal government, or whoever it is, other states, and saying this is what we've done. But the regulation that's going to come about from the state at that point is the California Public Utilities Commission. They're supposed to be looking over safety issues.
And so
that's where.
So we're waiting for that commission to react to this situation.
Well, there's an investigation.
Okay, I'm just.
Thank you for your comment.
She's a vested interest.
My dad has a boat there. I've sailed on the bay.
Okay.
So when Liza was talking, it really hit home.
And when she was talking, like she said, when she was talking earlier about what PG&E used to deal with mitigating their pollution in the bay, and this is, you know, just a continuation of that from a. Yeah.
My dad's boat, we had to scrub all the time because of this.
And this feels like it's probably worse than that, correct?
Well, we didn't have the breathing issues and all the other.
The other concern is that at least PG&E seemed to be working under a regulatory structure that was well known. This seems to be a situation where it's an unknown technology, and the people that are developing the technology are the ones that are getting to express what they feel the risks are and how they should be dealt with. And I don't know the extent to which testing is done for these type of situations where thermal runaway takes all your best laid plans and lays waste to them, essentially.
Right.
So that's my question was to the people that were here, is that it sounded like that once the permitting process was allowed, once you've allowed them to set up shop, it's up to them to be good neighbors and good company and do. And I know from my experience, I work we build equipment for food processing, and before the implementation of the Food Safety Modernization Act, all the producers were basically held, do good, don't poison us all, and of course you know how that went, and I think that this is another situation, it's another watershed moment where you've got a company that was allowed to build the best thing they thought they were doing, but it was more optimistic in its risk assessment than reality. They, just my observation of the two companies and the two approaches, excuse me, lithium fires and their dangers are well known. They have been for 15, 20 years. The fact that we took a situation that seemed to be handled by mitigating it by keeping smaller portions farther apart and just completely sidestepping that and trying to put as much as we could into one building. I'm just wondering who gets to write the regulations going forward. Is it still Vista and the energy industry, or is it going to be regulated from California?
And this was a valid question, and I don't think it was quite getting answered. What I heard, and you can tell me if you heard something different, but what I felt like I was hearing is they were talking about building code structures, about when they first built the building, which doesn't have anything to do with safety regulations as far as industry is concerned. Those are two different conversations, right?
I spoke to the fire chief a moment ago just to get some more clarity. He was talking about the remaining powered bank batteries there right now. Each year they've layered on what they've learned in the prior year, and that's great, but at the same time that's reactionary, and that's not taking into the possible risks that were set up. And I don't particularly feel very comfortable with the idea that once you set up shop you get to regulate your own situation. So
Or just live by the rules you had before.
Yeah.
5 years ago, I put it in here, I don't have to.
Yeah.
No, but that's why I'm saying the building code, which is true, the building code. So if you build a building in 1923, 1955, the building code structure at that time is what's applied. But that's not the same thing as safety regulation for an industry, and they can regulate industries. So I don't know if there was a disconnect in between.
Well, just like you're talking about right now. I mean, this building we're standing in front of was built in the 1920s, but the amount of people that are allowed into it tonight to attend a meeting are dictated by current fire codes.
Right.
So,
exactly.
so that's
yes, exactly.
So that's what my question was is that I don't want to take this hopeless approach that we've already let the rooster, I've already let the fox in the hen house and there's nothing we can do. I just wanted to know, is this something that is there somebody else in the driver's seat besides Vista and the energy at large?